When it comes to real estate, everybody always wants to know when's the best time to buy and when's the best time to sell. And in this video specifically, what we're going to be looking at is when the best time to upsize is. So essentially meaning from a smaller property to a bigger property. Typically this would be a condo to a townhome or a townhome to a detached home. And if there's one thing you take away from this video, it's the biggest mistake that most people make when they're looking to do this. And I'm going to tell you what that mistake is in just a minute here, but let's get started. So if you already own a property, you're obviously probably thinking that you want to sell when you're going to get the most amount of money. And while theoretically this seems like it would obviously be the best answer, I'm going to show you why a lot of the time it's actually not. So if you are trying to upsize, the first thing you need to do is figure out what your home is worth. This is generally best done by having your realtor come and give you a comparative market analysis, and that will give you a pretty good idea of what it's going to sell for. Of course, you're not going to know for sure until it's actually sold, but this will give you some numbers to work with. And on top of that, you're going to need to speak to either your bank or mortgage broker to look at your mortgage qualification and what price of a home you're going to be able to afford. And then based off of these numbers, it's going to give you a clear idea of how to move forwards, whether you should be buying first or selling first. And this is always going to vary based on your unique situation. However, the general rule of thumb is that in a market that is moving up, especially if it is moving up quickly, you're going to want to buy before you sell. And conversely, in a market that is going down, especially if it's happening quite quickly, you're going to want to sell before you buy. But back to figuring out when the ideal time is going to be for you to actually make this move, and we're going to have to look at some numbers. So now I'm going to share a couple of different pricing charts with you from the past and go over the numbers so you can see when would have been the worst time to make this move and when would have been the best. So let's take a look at that right now. So taking a look at our chart here, what we're looking at is prices in April of 2022, which was pretty much the peak of the market. It was somewhere in the February, March, April range, dependent on the property type. So what we can see here is that the differential between the benchmark condo prices and the benchmark townhouse prices is $343,400. Now this might vary slightly by city. However, just keep this in mind, because this is when you'd be selling your condo for the absolute most amount of money that it's ever been worth. However, this is also when the townhomes that you're trying to get into were at their highest price points as well. Now, conversely, if we take a look at the dip in the market in January of 2023, you would have sold your property for around $80,000 less than you would have at the peak back in April. However, when we look at the differential here, it's about $80,000 less. So let me ask you, what's the most important to you? Is it the overall differential or the fact that you're selling the property for more? So while at first you may have thought, oh, I want to be able to sell my property for the most, you're not taking the whole picture into account because you're also purchasing something at the same time. Now, let's look at this for detached versus a townhouse. So once again, pretty close to the peak here, March of 2022, your townhome would be worth $925,000, but you'd have to get into a detached home at over $1.77 million, a price gap of almost $846,000, which is substantial. Now let's take a look when prices came back down. $578,000. That is significantly less than we're back here at $846,000. Almost $300,000 in difference. So again, even though your townhome would have been worth over $900,000, $925,000 in this specific example, it's a $150,000 difference. The price of detached homes came down by $400,000, so you've got a much better differential. So it's not always about what you're selling for, it's also about what you're buying for. And now just to add on to this point, when we look at how much the prices go up or down, what you'll typically notice is that the smaller property types will appreciate or depreciate by smaller amounts, both relatively and in terms of their absolute numbers versus the larger ones. So for instance, don't quote these numbers, but if a condo, $500,000 condo, prices go up in the market, the condo may go up by 5%, the townhome may go up by 10%, and the detached home may go up by 15%. However, in the reverse scenario, you're going to see the detached home come down by 15, the townhome come down by 10, and the condo come down by 5%. This isn't a perfect science, but as a general rule of thumb, this is typically what we see. When prices are expanding, they're getting further and further away from each other until it reaches a point where the gap between the next property types gets too large. Now, when prices are coming down, we see a compression in the market. So the top end is going to come down quicker than the bottom end tends to come down. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that this video is an oversimplification of this process. It's definitely not as black and white as I made it out to be, and that's when we're talking solely about the numbers. Now, there's so many other factors that can come into play. Maybe you've got a new job opportunity. Maybe you're moving out of the country. Maybe the perfect home that you want to move into is on the market and it may not come up again. Now, of course, these are all other things you're going to have to take into account and will affect your decision. But from a solely numbers-based standpoint, this is going to be your best bet. So if you didn't happen to catch what the biggest mistake is that most people make when they're looking to upsize in the video already, I'll let you know now. And that's the fact that they are too focused on the sale price of their home. As with any situation, whether you're upsizing, downsizing, purchasing your first home, you need to look at it holistically. Because I've seen time and time again, somebody who was given a price for their home a couple of months ago, the market has come down, now they're no longer able to get that number. However, the overall numbers look a lot better for their situation, but because of the fact they've tied themselves to the previous number, they don't end up doing anything. And basically, they miss out. So just ensure that you're getting good advice and that you're looking at the whole picture. And that's about going to do it for today's video, but if you did get any value whatsoever, all I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button so that I can get this video out to more amazing people just like you who want to learn more about real estate. And if you are interested in seeing more videos just like this one, as well as community tours across Surrey, Langley, and the rest of Greater Vancouver, then I suggest you consider subscribing to our channel. Lastly, if you are looking to buy or sell in Surrey, Langley, or the rest of the Fraser Valley, or you just want to chat about real estate, you can scroll down and hit the first link in the description to book a call with me at a time that works best for you. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out another video on our channel before you get out of here, and we'll see you in the next one.